Imagine for a moment that no one knows your name. The world sees you as average, perhaps even insignificant. They don't see the depth of your desire. They don't hear your nightly prayers or witness your inner transformations. But in the silence of your own being, in the sacred stillness of your imagination, you are already a millionaire. Not someday, not soon, but now, in secret. The greatest wealth is never born in bank accounts. It is born in consciousness. And those who walk by faith rather than sight know this truth. The riches of the world first appear in the invisible vaults of the mind long before they show up in the ledgers of men. You do not need the world's approval to begin. You need only your own belief. Acting rich is not about arrogance or show. It is a deep, reverent agreement between your soul and the universe. You do not pretend to impress others. You become what you believe to impress upon the universe your unwavering claim. It is in the secrecy of your inner world that you plant the seed of wealth. And once planted, the universe, silent and sure, begins to arrange every circumstance, every meeting, every coincidence to reveal publicly what you rehearsed privately. You are not waiting for money. You are embodying it. You are not praying as a beggar. You are declaring as an heir. The vibrations you hold in your inner sanctuary echo into the ethers. And the universe, which speaks only in frequencies, translates your silent confidence into physical abundance. Look around. Most people perform their poverty publicly. They talk about what they lack, broadcast their limitations, and seek sympathy for their struggles. But you are different. You walk in private wealth. You walk with the calm of someone who knows that life is not happening to them but from them. You are not seeking. You are expressing. You are not hustling. You are harmonizing. Start with your thoughts. When you wake, do not rush into worry. Pause. Breathe, imagine. Begin the day as a rich millionaire would, not just with luxury, but with certainty, with serenity, with gratitude so full it spills into every word you speak. Speak to yourself with respect. Dress yourself with intention. Walk with poise. Think with clarity. Smile not because you hope it'll happen, but because you know it already has. Don't make noise. Make vibrations. The ones who make the most noise often have the least power, but those who carry power don't need to announce it. It radiates. When you act rich in silence, when you bless every coin you hold, when you treat every possession as sacred, you invite multiplication, because the universe rewards reverence. Let the world underestimate you. Let them mislabel you. It's better they see nothing coming. Your rise will be their revelation. When your vision becomes visible, when your secret wealth becomes your public story, they'll call it a miracle. But you'll know better. It was creation. Quiet, precise, faithful creation. So hold your vision. Speak riches into your bones. See checks with your name. Feel the joy of transactions going through with ease. Pay bills in your imagination as a gesture of gratitude, not obligation. Invest in your mind. Spend generously in your thoughts. Give without fear. Receive without guilt. Because the rich in spirit are never afraid of the flow. They are the flow. There will come a time not far from now when the world will ask how you did it. They will want your formula, your mentor, your method. But you'll smile, knowing the secret was never outside you. It was always the inner act, the sacred performance of a millionaire mind rehearsed in secret, long before the applause ever arrived. And in that moment, remember this: the universe never misses a rehearsal. When you act rich in secret, the universe will reward you in public, so that no man may doubt the power of imagination governed by unwavering belief. To the untrained eye, wealth seems to begin with numbers in an account, titles on deeds, or the glint of gold. But to those who understand the laws of creation, wealth starts in a far more sacred place: consciousness. You do not become wealthy by striving to collect more. You become wealthy by assuming the identity of one who already possesses more than enough. In the stillness of your mind, you must see yourself already rich. Not one day, not soon, now. This is not wishful thinking. This is the seed from which all reality springs. The world you see is a mirror, reflecting back to you the thoughts you most consistently entertain. When you see lack in your external life, do not be fooled into thinking it is the cause. It is only the effect of inner beliefs long rehearsed. Close your eyes and ask, what does wealth feel like? Not what does it look like, or what you'll buy with it, but what it feels like to carry the spirit of abundance. Is it lightness? Is it freedom? Is it gratitude? Begin to move into that state deliberately. Do not wait for circumstances to change before you allow the emotion to rise. You must be wealthy in feeling before you are wealthy in form. Everything begins within. Think of the oak tree. It was first a seed, invisible to the world, silent, uncelebrated. Yet within that seed was the full structure of the tree. So it is with you. When you assume the consciousness of a rich millionaire, the seed is planted, and though the outer world does not yet recognize it, the roots are already forming, reaching deep into the unseen. Speak in private the language of wealth. Affirm not in desperation but in authority. I am rich. I am supported. I am the source of abundance. You don't say these words to convince the world. You say them to align your vibration with the truth you desire to manifest. And once aligned, the universe must respond. If you truly understood that your thoughts were creative acts, you would guard them as a banker guards his vault. You would not speak of limitation. You would not confess what you fear. Instead, you would speak only of what you are ready to receive. And that readiness would summon the forms to support your belief. This is the divine paradox. The wealthiest people inwardly are often unnoticed by the world until the universe decides it's time to reveal them. You must live as the rich live, in imagination. Let others see your external circumstances. Let them misjudge. You are not defined by their perception, but by the direction of your attention. Where your inner world is rich, your outer world cannot help but obey. It is not arrogance to feel wealthy before evidence appears. It is alignment, and alignment precedes manifestation. When you walk in the consciousness of wealth, you are not faking. You are forming. You are creating the blueprint that the outer world will soon be compelled to follow. So the next time you look at your current reality, do not bow to it. Bless it as the fading echo of old thoughts, and return to the inner place where your riches are real, present, and abundant. That place is not far away. It is one belief away, one shift in consciousness, and the moment you dwell in it faithfully, the world begins the process of catching up. There is a secret power in moving silently. The world has trained you to announce your intentions, to show your progress, to gain applause. But when it comes to the creation of wealth, silence is not weakness, it is power. You are not called to perform your abundance for others. You are called to embody it quietly, faithfully, consistently. Acting rich in silence is not about pretending to be someone you're not. It is about assuming the identity of the person you truly are, beneath the noise before the manifestation. Do not confuse volume with vibration. The universe does not respond to how loud your words are. It responds to the strength of your inner conviction. There are people who speak of riches but feel lack. They decorate their words with affirmations, yet inwardly tremble with doubt. Then there are others, unknown, unseen, who speak little but live richly in their imagination. They feel every purchase as easeful. They walk as if supported. They sleep with the certainty that all is unfolding, and it is these silent creators the universe rewards. Begin practicing the art of invisible alignment. When you walk into a room, hold the posture of a person who has all they need. When you speak, speak not to impress, but from calm assurance. When you spend, spend with faith. And when you receive, do so with grace. Let your smallest action carry the signature of wealth. You do not need to tell the world who you are becoming. You need only tell yourself and live it. Think of a seed in the earth. It does not scream, I'm becoming a tree. It simply breaks open in the dark, draws in the light, and grows. Its reward is the bloom, not the broadcast. So too with you. Grow in the dark. Let your roots stretch deep into faith. Let your branches reach quietly for the sky. People may overlook you. That's their blindness, not your truth. Keep your secret agreement with the universe. Every time you act in faith, every time you reject lack in thought, every time you choose gratitude over doubt, you are sending signals. These signals may be invisible to human eyes, but they are loud in the realm of energy. And energy arranges matter. The rich do not rush, they do not beg, they do not chase. They attract, they align, they expect. That is the secret of wealth creation. It is not effort, it is essence. You carry the essence of wealth now. Nurture it with silence, protect it with privacy. You are not hiding your greatness, you are incubating it. Soon the world will wonder where your abundance came from. They will ask what you did, who helped you, what shortcut you found, but you will know the truth. It was no shortcut. It was the long, quiet faith. The choice to walk as a millionaire in secret when you had nothing to show but everything to believe. And the universe, faithful to vibration, made sure you were seen at the perfect time. There is a great illusion that deceives most seekers of abundance, the belief that wealth is something to wait for. They believe it exists in some distant future, tied to conditions and time. But wealth does not respond to the calendar, it responds to consciousness. The moment you place it in the future, you exile it from your present. And as long as it remains out there, it will never be right here. The true secret is that you are never waiting for wealth. Wealth is waiting for you to become the person who already has it. This is not about external readiness. This is about spiritual embodiment. To embody something means to live in the awareness of it now, even before it appears. It means letting the feeling of being rich soak into your language, your posture, your breath, your thoughts. You walk differently, you speak with calm certainty, you treat time as precious and people with dignity. Not because you're pretending, but because you are rehearsing the truth of who you are in the world you are creating. You must understand that the external is always lagging behind the internal. Every dollar that enters your experience is an echo of a belief once held. Every opportunity that appears was summoned by a vibration you've been carrying. So if you want to attract wealth, you cannot live in the frequency of lack. You must raise yourself to the state of the wealthy before the money ever arrives. How does a wealthy person behave when paying bills? With ease. How does a wealthy person handle delay? With composure. How does a wealthy person face uncertainty? With vision. If you carry fear, panic, and resistance, you are communicating to the universe that you are unready. But when you respond to life as a wealthy soul would, when you bless the small as if it were large, and thank the unseen as if it were here, then you call forth the very riches you've embodied. You may ask, how can I feel rich when I have nothing? But this question betrays the misunderstanding. You have everything. You have the power to feel, to imagine, to speak, to choose. You are not poor, you are potent. And the moment you stop defining your reality by your current conditions and begin defining it by your internal assumptions, you become magnetic to miracles. So wake up each morning not as someone waiting to be rich, but as someone remembering they already are. Affirm it, feel it, live as though the reality has already shifted, and soon you will notice how people treat you differently, how doors open unexpectedly, how money flows in ways you never planned. Why? Because you didn't wait for it. You became it. The world may call it delusion, but what they call delusion is simply creation in its earliest stage. Every rich man was once a dreamer. Every empire was once invisible. You are not faking it. You are forming it. And every time you embody wealth before it arrives, you shorten the distance between your now and your next. Every word you speak in the silence of your mind is a seed. Every inner dialogue is a command given to the universe, a blueprint handed to the invisible architect of your reality. If you understood the power of your inner conversations, you would never again speak lack to yourself. You would never again entertain fear without interrupting it. Because the life you live outwardly is a direct result of what you whisper to yourself in secret. You are always talking to yourself, even now. Whether you're aware of it or not, you're having internal discussions about your worth, your money, your future. The tragedy is that most people speak more kindly to others than they do to themselves. They affirm love for their friends and then curse themselves with thoughts like, I'll never make it, or I'm not enough, or it's too hard. And then they wonder why life mirrors back struggle, rejection, and limitation. But when you consciously direct your inner speech, when you take command of the dialogue that happens within, you begin to shift the atmosphere of your soul. And the soul is the place where manifestation begins. Wealth is not just attracted through outer work, it is magnetized through inner speech. You must talk to yourself as a rich person would. You must declare your abundance in the private hallways of your mind long before the public sees it. What does your millionaire self say when they face a challenge? This will pass. I'm resourceful. Money always finds me. What do they say when the bill is higher than expected? I bless this expense because it proves I'm trusted with more. What do they say when people doubt them? Their opinion is not my truth. These are not just comforting affirmations. They are instructions given to the subconscious, which obeys your dominant inner tone without question. Your inner conversation is more powerful than your outer action. A man who works hard but thinks poorly will sabotage his progress. But a man who works with ease and thinks abundantly will always find ways to rise. So monitor your self-talk like a hawk. Refuse to argue for your limitations. Stop defending your struggle. Instead, script your wealth. Write it in the air with every inner sentence you speak. You may not have the house, the car, or the investments yet, but you can begin today to build the mansion of your belief. You can walk through the rooms of your dream in imagination. You can hear the sounds of victory before the battle is even fought. And if you do this persistently, faithfully, lovingly, the outer world will conform. Think of yourself as a sculptor. Your thoughts are the chisel, your words are the hammer, your inner speech is shaping the stone. And one day soon, what now exists only in your imagination will stand tall in your reality, admired and undeniable. So let your inner voice speak riches. Let it speak confidence, beauty, and success. When doubt whispers, do not listen. When fear tempts you, do not answer. Instead, rehearse the dialogue of wealth. Say what you want to hear. Speak what you want to live. Because the universe is always listening, not to your lips, but to your soul. The mistake most people make on the path to wealth is thinking that abundance begins after they have more. They believe sacredness is something reserved for riches, luxuries, or milestones. But this is the great misunderstanding. Abundance does not begin when you have more. It begins when you bless what you already have. When you treat even the smallest coin in your possession as sacred, you align yourself with the frequency of wealth. You become the kind of person the universe trusts with more. Your current possessions, no matter how few or humble, are opportunities. They are not tests, but invitations. Every dollar, every item, every space you inhabit carries energy. How you treat these things tells the universe what kind of steward you are. The person who tosses their coins carelessly or speaks about their belongings with disgust is unknowingly rejecting the very abundance they claim to desire. But the one who blesses what they hold, even if it's modest, signals readiness for multiplication. Blessing a coin does not mean idolizing it. It means infusing it with gratitude. It means holding it with reverence, knowing that behind this small form is the same intelligence that governs stars. Whether you're holding a penny or a gold bar, the energy of abundance is the same. The only difference is how you see it. If you see a penny as insignificant, you will see yourself as insignificant to the universe. But if you honor that penny, if you say, I am grateful for this flow, then you step into a realm where money no longer controls you. You command it. Look around your space. Is your wallet organized? Are your clothes folded with care? Do you treat your phone, your shoes, your kitchen, your surroundings as extensions of your self-worth? Or have you been waiting for a better day, a richer time to begin caring? The truth is, your future is hidden in your present habits. The person who wipes their table clean as though they're preparing for royalty is the same person who will one day host kings. And they will not be surprised, for they practiced wealth in the unseen. When you give money, bless it as it leaves. Don't curse the expense. Don't grumble at the price. Say to yourself, this returns to me multiplied. I release it with joy. These words are not superstition. They are seeds. Every emotion you pair with an action becomes the blueprint the universe mirrors back. If you pay with bitterness, you attract more bitterness. If you pay with trust, you attract more to trust. You are not just managing money, you are managing vibration, and sacredness multiplies what it touches. So if you want your wealth to grow, stop waiting to feel rich. Start treating your present abundance as holy. Clean your home as a temple. Handle your belongings as if they were gifts from the divine. Speak over them with life, and soon everything you own, small or great, will begin to radiate the energy of increase. The world has confused visibility with power. In a society addicted to attention, people believe that if others don't see them succeeding, they must not be succeeding at all. They chase followers, likes, applause, recognition, mistaking noise for value. But the universe does not operate on volume, it operates on vibration. It does not reward the loud, it rewards the faithful. Not those who broadcast their goals, but those who quietly believe in their vision, even when there is no proof. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. Your work is not to convince others that you are manifesting abundance. Your work is to know within yourself that you already are. This quiet knowing, this unshakable, silent confidence is more powerful than 1,000 affirmations shouted into the void. It is your still inner certainty that draws miracles. It is your refusal to be shaken by delay or distracted by doubt that causes the universe to move. There is something sacred about walking through life with a secret, not a secret of shame, but a secret of knowing. You carry the future in your bones. You walk through humble streets with a millionaire mind. You are not disturbed when others overlook you because you understand that your reward does not come from their validation. It comes from the one who sees in secret. The law of creation, the force of manifestation, the God within, all respond to your inner state, not your public display. You may feel invisible now. You may be working, believing, dreaming, and growing in silence. And it may seem like no one notices. But do not mistake silence for stagnation. The most powerful shifts happen beneath the surface. Roots grow deep before trees rise high. And when the time is right, when your vibration is stable and your spirit anchored, the universe will make sure you are seen. Not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. Let others chase attention. Let them perform wealth without foundation. Let them build castles in the air. You, however, are laying stone upon stone, unseen but certain. You are rehearsing peace in private. You are speaking abundance into your mirror. You are training your nervous system to feel at home in overflow. And this training, though invisible, is what prepares you for the public reward. When you trust in divine timing, when you act in faith without needing applause, you open a channel that cannot be closed. You become the kind of person who success gravitates to, not because you shouted for it, but because you became it. And that becoming, silent, steady, sacred, is what the universe cannot resist. So remember, your quiet faith is louder than any performance. Your inner wealth will one day overflow into the outer world. And when it does, those who once dismissed you will ask, how did it happen? And the truth will be simple. You remained faithful. You believed when no one clapped. You acted rich in secret. And the universe, as it always does, rewarded the quiet architect who built their life on conviction, not noise. There will come a moment when the curtain lifts, when the things you once imagined in silence begin to unfold before your very eyes. The wealth you saw with closed eyelids, the ease you practiced in solitude, the lifestyle you rehearsed alone, it will all step into the light, and the world, astonished by your sudden rise, will call it a miracle. They will whisper about luck. They will say it happened overnight, but you will know the truth. It wasn't sudden, it wasn't luck, it was faith. You see, the world often only recognizes what it can measure, what it can see and touch. They miss the invisible labor, the inner alignment, the hours spent creating within. But the universe doesn't miss it. It watches the private repetitions. It responds to the persistent vision. And when the time is fulfilled, it unveils in the open what was long held in secret. This is why you must not be discouraged when your reality seems unchanged. When days stretch on without signs, when the account still looks empty, when the circumstances refuse to bend, do not retreat into doubt. Instead, lean deeper into knowing, because this is the part of the journey where most abandon their miracle. They break the rhythm, they stop assuming the feeling. But the ones who endure, the ones who continue to act as if even when nothing shows up, those are the ones who call down the reward. When your miracle comes, and it will, you won't be surprised, you'll be grateful, yes. You'll be overwhelmed with joy, but not surprised, because you've walked through it 1,000 times in imagination. You've dined at that table, you've walked those halls, you've received that check, you've tasted that freedom, not with your tongue, but with your faith. And when it arrives, you won't have to adjust. You'll simply receive what you've already lived inwardly. Let others chase validation. Let them perform success before it exists. But you walk in the quiet dignity of someone who knows their reality is on the way. The manifestation of wealth is not meant to be a performance. It is meant to be a reflection. And what you reflect into your world depends entirely on what you hold consistently in your consciousness. People will ask how you did it. They'll want steps, formulas, shortcuts. But the only real answer will be, I became it first. I believed when it was hard. I walked as though it was done. I praised while others complained. I carried myself with wealth before I had a reason to. And now the world simply caught up. Because what the world calls a miracle is, I call faith in action. So now the question is no longer if wealth is yours. It is whether you are willing to embody it in silence until the world can no longer ignore it. The universe is not waiting to decide your fate. It is waiting for your decision. Will you walk as a rich millionaire in secret? Will you dare to live internally as though all things are already yours? Because that act, simple, quiet, and consistent, is the turning point of destiny. Acting as a rich millionaire in secret is not deception, it is devotion. Devotion to the law that what you believe yourself to be, you must eventually become. Devotion to the unseen realm where everything begins. Devotion to your higher self, the one who already lives in overflow, in freedom, in impact. Your imagination is not a playground, it is the workshop of reality. And every thought, every feeling, every silent assumption is a tool. You shape the structure long before the world sees the blueprint. And the universe, it obeys your inner architecture without fail. You may have started with nothing, you may still be in the process. But if you act rich inwardly, if you speak abundance into your bones, if you honor your possessions and train your thoughts to reflect wealth, then wealth will find you. It will move through channels you never expected. It will arrive in ways that confound logic and silence doubt. And when it does, when the house stands where once was dirt, when the account overflows where once was lack, when your lifestyle matches the inner movie you played for years, you will not need to shout. You will simply smile. Because you will know, as few truly do, that all of it came from within. So go now, not as a seeker, but as one who knows. Carry yourself as if it's already done. Speak with the poise of someone who receives. Bless what you have as if it's the beginning of a flood. And remember, when you act as a rich millionaire in secret, the universe will reward you publicly, loudly, and undeniably. Your reward is coming, but more than that, your becoming is already here. You must come to understand that the substance of your life is shaped not by what you see, but by what you assume. You do not wait for money to show up before you feel wealthy. You do not wait for the digits to appear in your account before you carry the vibration of abundance. The world around you is a mirror, yes, a mere echo of your inner convictions. To act as if money is on its way to you is not make-believe, it is the secret blueprint of manifestation. It is the invisible law that governs the seen and unseen. Begin in imagination. That is where all things are conceived. You sit quietly, undisturbed by appearances, and you assume, not wish, not hope, but assume that your financial blessings are already unfolding. The rent is paid, the debt is cleared, the wallet is full, and the freedom you longed for is no longer a dream. You walk with that knowing. You carry that invisible signature in your spirit. When you act as if money is on its way, you are not pretending in the world of shadows. You are planting a seed in the garden of eternity. Money does not respond to begging. It does not rush to those who fearfully await its arrival. It comes to those who already see it walking toward them, who already feel the warmth of its embrace, who live and move and breathe in the certainty that it is theirs. Let not your senses argue with you. They will say, look at your bank account, listen to your bills, see the scarcity. But those who walk by sight never touch the riches of spirit. You are not to believe in what your senses show you, but in what your inner eye reveals. You are not here to bow to circumstance. You are here to reign over it. What is the sound of wealth? How does your breath change when you feel secure? What clothes do you wear when you are prosperous? What kind of posture do you hold when lack is a distant memory? Begin there. Feel it until it becomes real to you. So real that the outer world has no choice but to conform to it, not because you demanded it with force, but because you moved first in spirit. Money is not outside of you. It is drawn by your consciousness. It is a servant that obeys the master of belief. When you act as if it is already yours, you awaken a power that sets everything in motion. You walk into rooms with a new energy. You speak with calmness, you think with clarity, and every thought becomes a silent magnet, pulling what you assume into form. You may ask, but how will it come? That is not your concern. The how belongs to the unseen intelligence that knows no limit. Your only work is to believe without wavering, to see without doubting, to move without hesitation, to act with the quiet confidence of someone who knows the check is already written, the door is already open, and the opportunity is already waiting. There is a version of you who is already living in overflow. That version is not a fantasy, it is a fact in a higher realm. Align with it, speak like it, think like it, live like it. When you carry the vibration of wealth, you cannot be denied. The world must yield. The shadows must obey the light. You are not here to chase money. You are here to recognize that money was always searching for you. So walk through your day as the one who already possesses. Pay your bills with a heart that knows more is coming. Give with a hand that never fears running out. Speak with a tongue dipped in expectation. Do not perform this as a ritual. Do not repeat it as a habit. Feel it. Feel it until your chest expands, until your feet walk differently, until your reflection in the mirror tells you that the shift has already occurred. And the moment you live in that certainty, the moment you no longer wait, but claim, it is done. To assume the feeling of wealth before it arrives is to step into the only place where true creation occurs, the inner realm. It is not about tricking the mind or playing a game of fantasy. It is the conscious act of claiming what is already yours in the unseen, long before it takes form in the physical. You are not called to wait and see. You are called to believe and feel. In a world ruled by appearances, it seems foolish to feel rich when bills are piling up, when the numbers in your bank account do not match your desires, and when everything around you whispers lack. But that is the very test. That is the secret doorway few dare to walk through. You must assume the feeling of wealth as a present reality, not as a distant goal. What does that feel like? Not just the surface excitement of receiving a large sum, but the deep, unshakable calm that comes with financial security. The freedom in your breath, when you no longer worry about where the next payment will come from. the ease in your body when you know you can provide, support, and give without restraint. It is this state, this silent, powerful energy that you must dwell, that you must dwell in, and you must dwell in it as if it were your natural home, as if you had never known anything else. You do not force this feeling through effort, you surrender to it. You do not beg for money. You become the version of yourself who never had to. You rise in the morning and carry the awareness of wealth within you like a soft hum beneath your thoughts. Not loud, not desperate, but steady. It's the way you hold your coffee, the way you dress, the way you speak, the vibration you carry into every room. There is a weight to it, a noble grace. You are not proving anything, you are simply living as one who knows that money is always finding its way to you. Your environment may not yet echo that truth. That is irrelevant. The outer world is delayed, always catching up to the inner world. So when the evidence has not yet arrived, that is when you are truly being tested. That is the furnace where faith is forged. You remain in the feeling, not to manipulate outcomes, but because it is who you are. You do not visualize wealth so that it will come. It is already present in the field of infinite possibilities. And your assumption, your inner conviction, is the bridge between that world and this one. There will be days when doubt knocks on the door, when fear creeps in like a cold wind, telling you that you're foolish, that nothing is changing, that you're pretending. That is when you must be still. That is when you must return, not to reason, not to logic, but to feeling. Logic will always talk you out of miracles. It will show you statistics, probabilities, and facts, but feeling will usher in the impossible. The world does not bend to numbers. It bends to belief. To assume the feeling of wealth is not a one-time act. It is a posture of the soul. It is a returning over and over until it becomes more real than the lack you see. You do not wait for proof. You are the proof. Your vibration, your attitude, your energy, these are the signs that something unseen has already shifted. And once it has shifted in you, it must shift around you. This is not about reckless spending or acting out illusions. It is not about buying what you cannot yet afford. It is about aligning your internal world with the state of financial well-being. It is about walking into a store and feeling that you could purchase anything you desire, even if you choose not to. It's about releasing the tension in your chest when a bill arrives, knowing that provision is already on its way. It is about carrying the energy of sufficiency in every situation. When you assume the feeling of wealth, you begin to attract opportunities, ideas, and people who match that vibration. It is not magic, but it will feel magical. Life starts to rearrange itself to fit the image you carry. The job offer comes unexpectedly. A forgotten debt is repaid. You meet someone with the exact solution to your need. It unfolds naturally because you have already received it internally. It is easy to assume lack. That is what the world teaches. From childhood, we are told to be careful, to save, to fear loss. But the inner world teaches abundance. It whispers of a source that never runs dry, of a river that flows endlessly toward you if you will only open your hands. Your task is to reject the story of lack and write a new story in the language of feeling, the language of the heart. And how do you begin? Start small. Close your eyes and picture yourself free, not trying to be free, already free. Picture the moment you check your balance and feel relief, not panic. Picture the calm smile as you give to others, knowing you are never depleted. Feel it, even if only for a moment. That moment is a seed, and like all seeds, if watered daily, it will grow. Every time you return to this feeling, you are telling the universe, I know who I am. I know what I have. I do not need to chase it. I only need to be it. This is the sacred act of assuming the feeling of wealth before it arrives. This is the hidden doorway through which money enters. Not through fear, not through stress, but through the quiet power of belief clothed in feeling. It is already yours. Feel it until the world agrees. To ignore present circumstances and trust your inner vision is to walk in a truth far greater than what the eyes can perceive. It is to understand that everything you see now is merely a reflection of past states of consciousness. The world around you, the bills, the empty wallet, the unanswered messages, the mounting needs, is not the cause of your feelings. It is the effect of prior beliefs, prior assumptions, prior moods you once entertained and accepted as real. If you try to change your life by reacting to what is, you only reinforce its grip. You must instead turn away from the mirror of the world and look within, into the realm where all change begins. This is not denial, this is mastery. The moment you accept the visible world as final, you submit to a delayed echo. You place your faith in the past instead of the power of imagination. Present facts may scream of insufficiency, but if you bow to them, you become a servant of lack. You cannot be the master of your reality while taking orders from appearances. The eyes can deceive you. The numbers may fluctuate, but your inner conviction must remain steady. Your task is to look beyond the noise and listen for the whisper of truth that says, "This is not all there is." The inner vision is not a fantasy, it is the origin of reality. Every great fortune, every success story, every transformation began in the unseen realm of belief. The world you wish to live in exists right now, fully formed in the dimension of imagination. The only reason you do not yet experience it is because your attention is still tied to what already is. When you shift your attention, you shift your world. When you give more power to the vision within than to the conditions without, you awaken the laws that bend reality to match your inner state. You must not ask, "How can I believe when everything around me contradicts it?" You must instead ask, "How long will I allow the outside world to dictate my truth?" The world is not fixed. It is fluid, ever-changing, always responding to the dominant assumption held within. When you trust the inner vision, even while the outer seems unchanged, you are planting the seed of a new reality. It is not your job to force its growth. It is your job to hold it in your heart with unwavering faith. Think of a sculptor. They do not look at a block of marble and despair that it is not yet a statue. They see beyond the stone. They already see the form that is hidden within. They trust their vision so completely that every strike of the chisel brings that vision into visibility. You too must see beyond the block of your current life. The money may not yet be visible. The success may not yet be tangible, but you must see it within, already real, already yours. That is the chisel of imagination. That is the artistry of faith. You are not required to ignore reality. You are required to see beyond it. Reality is not lying to you. It is simply outdated. It is a manifestation of a belief you no longer have to entertain. And so you shift. You turn from the noise and enter the silence of your inner world, where you imagine freely, vividly, joyfully. You imagine as a creator, not a beggar. You imagine not to escape, but to design. The inner vision becomes more familiar than the outer reality, and in time the outer must yield to it. People may call you unrealistic. Let them. They are describing the path of every visionary, every pioneer, every soul who dared to trust the unseen over the seen. What they call unrealistic, you must call sacred. You must nourish it, protect it, speak to it, live by it. If you want to change your financial condition, stop talking about lack. Stop repeating the story of what's missing. Stop rehearsing the struggle. Every word carries a seed. And every time you speak about what you don't have, you plant more of it. Instead, speak as one who knows. Think as one who trusts. Walk as one who sees. The vision in your mind must become more dominant than the facts in front of you. Not because you are pretending, but because you are aligned with the deeper truth. That consciousness creates reality, and your assumption is the mold into which the future is poured. There will be moments when everything tempts you to abandon the vision, moments when things seem to get worse before they get better. These are the trials of the soul, the storms that test whether your faith is rooted in truth or in circumstance. Do not flinch. Do not run back to the old patterns. Stay rooted. Close your eyes if you must. Shut out the noise. Return to your vision. See it again. Feel it again. Live it again. Internally, until your heart burns with the knowing that it is done. Your present circumstances are not your identity. They are not your prison. They are not permanent. They are shadows of a previous belief. And shadows cannot harm the one who walks in light. Let your inner vision be that light. Let it be your guide when the path is unclear, your strength when doubt creeps in, your fuel when the world grows cold. You do not need the world to believe in your dream. You only need to believe in it yourself. And when you do, the world will bend. It always does. So stop measuring progress by what you see. Progress is not visible, it is vibrational. You know you are shifting when you begin to feel different, when peace replaces panic, when confidence replaces confusion, when gratitude appears long before the gift arrives. These are the signs, these are the invisible markers of transformation. Hold to them and trust that everything else is being rearranged to match the new image you carry within. The wealth you seek is not out there somewhere waiting to be found. It is within, waiting to be recognized. The more you focus on what is already yours in the unseen, the faster it appears in the seen. The more you trust the quiet inner picture, the louder life becomes in its confirmation. This is the way. This is how the soul creates, and you were born to walk this path. Let your imagination lead the way, for it is the only faculty that can create reality from the unseen. Imagination is not mere fantasy or escapism. It is the divine instrument through which life takes shape. Everything you experience, every person you encounter, every dollar that flows to you, every opportunity that knocks, it was first born in the womb of imagination. To treat imagination as a toy or an indulgence is to strip yourself of the most powerful force you possess. The world tells you to be realistic, to plan carefully, to follow logic, to conform to evidence. But the truth is that logic only reorganizes what is already known. Imagination creates what has never existed before. You are not here to simply observe the world, you are here to form it. And that formation begins not with effort, not with struggle, but with vision. With the deliberate and conscious choice to imagine what you desire as though it were already so. The moment you see it clearly within, you begin to dissolve the boundaries that separate you from it. You are no longer someone wanting money. You are someone seeing, feeling, living money in your inner world. And because the inner is the cause of the outer, what you live within must express itself without. You do not wait for conditions to approve your desires. You do not require the permission of facts to feel wealth. You go within, and there in the sacred silence of imagination, you build the world you wish to walk into. You do not merely visualize, you become. You do not merely watch a movie in your mind, you enter it fully, richly, completely. And the more you return to that place, the more the lines blur between what is imagined and what is real, until finally, reality has no choice but to submit to your persistent inner claim. Imagination must be treated as sacred ground. You do not visit it with doubt. You do not mock it with disbelief. You enter it with reverence, knowing that the moment you imagine something with feeling, you plant a seed in eternity. That seed does not vanish. It is watered by your faith, by your repetition, by your emotional alignment. It is given light by your joy, warmth by your gratitude. And in perfect timing, it breaks through the soil of time and space, revealing itself as what you call manifestation. You may ask, how long must I imagine? The answer is simple. Until it feels more real than what you see. Until the inner scene becomes your emotional truth. That is the great mystery. You do not need to force the world. You need only to persist in the unseen until it hardens into fact. The external world is not deaf. It is always listening to your inner speech. It is always echoing the pictures you carry when no one is watching. So let your imagination speak clearly. Let it be filled with conviction. Let it paint images of abundance, freedom, generosity, joy. Not for entertainment, but for creation. Most people misuse imagination. They rehearse fears, failures, losses. They replay scenes of rejection, worry about what could go wrong, dwell on what is missing. And so the world responds in kind. You must discipline the imagination, not with harshness, but with purpose. Guide it toward the life you want, just as a captain guides a ship through uncharted waters. Let every image you create be a step on the path to fulfillment. Let every inner scene be a declaration. This is who I am now. When you allow imagination to lead, you no longer need to manipulate the world. You no longer chase money, you draw it. You no longer fear the future, you create it. You do not react, you generate. That is the difference between one who lives by sight and one who lives by vision. The one who lives by sight is always behind, always responding, always adjusting, always surviving. But the one who lives by vision is always ahead, always creating, always initiating, always thriving. Imagination is not limited by your history. It does not care how much you failed in the past, how long you've struggled, how little you have today. It begins fresh. It sees you as whole, abundant, blessed. And when you align with that vision, when you dare to believe that what you see within is more real than what you see without, you begin to walk in power, a quiet power, a confident, unshakable power that does not waver with circumstance. Because you are not depending on circumstance, you are depending on imagination. The world has taught you to plan, to analyze, to calculate, but it rarely teaches you to imagine. And yet every invention, every movement, every empire began with one person sitting alone with a vision in their mind. The power you seek is not somewhere out there. It is within your ability to imagine boldly and consistently, to take 5 minutes each morning and feel your dream already fulfilled, to close your eyes before sleep and replay the scene of victory, to walk through the day with an inner movie playing, quietly but persistently, as the background of your being. You must become intimate with your desired reality. Not as something you hope will happen, but as something you are already living in consciousness. Imagination is the language of the soul. When you imagine something long enough, with enough detail and emotion, you send a signal to the universe that this is your truth. And the universe, which always listens to the vibration of belief, responds accordingly. This is not about forcing a mood or pretending. It is about surrendering to the vision so deeply that it becomes your emotional home. It is about making the feeling of wealth familiar. When you imagine from the state of already having it, your energy shifts. Your decisions change. Your posture aligns. Your words carry power, and life bends to support you. Let your imagination guide your steps. Let it be the compass when you feel lost, the lantern when the path is dim, the wings when you are tired. Return to it often. Visit it with gratitude. Play with it like a child, yet respect it like a prophet. For what you imagine with feeling will come not because you forced it, but because you claimed it. And once claimed in the unseen, it cannot be denied in the seen. To live, think, and speak from the end is to dwell in the consciousness of fulfillment long before the outer world shows any sign of agreement. It is the discipline of occupying a reality that for now exists only in imagination, but to treat it as though it were already so. This is not wishful thinking or pretending. It is alignment. You are not tricking the world. You are aligning yourself with the truth that what you persist in inwardly must eventually become your outward experience. To think from the end is to think like one who already has. To speak from the end is to speak like one who has already received. And to live from the end is to walk through life with the calm certainty that what you desired is already part of your identity. Many wait for things to change before they change. They wait for the money to come before they feel secure, for the opportunity to appear before they feel confident, for the door to open before they celebrate. But those who understand the law of consciousness reverse the order. They celebrate first. They give thanks now. They feel secure before the financial breakthrough, not after, because they know that consciousness is causation. You must be it within before you see it without. To live from the end is to look at your life through the lens of completion. When you wake up in the morning, you do not rise as someone hoping money will arrive. You rise as someone who already dwells in abundance. When you face challenges, you do not panic as someone struggling to survive. You respond as someone whose wealth has already secured their peace. This shift is not about what you do. It's about the place you do it from. You may still be paying off debts, working hard, seeking new opportunities, but inwardly, you are already there. You are already in possession of the freedom, the joy, the prosperity you once thought distant. Your thoughts must reflect that end state. No more doubting questions like, will it happen, or what if it doesn't work? You think instead, this is who I am now, not because it's visible to the eyes, but because it's undeniable in the heart. And when the heart holds something as true, the world cannot resist its call. You stop thinking like a person trying to get rich. You start thinking like a person who is already rich in essence. You stop arguing for your limitations. You stop entertaining the echo of old beliefs. You choose new thoughts that are rooted in the assumption of already being blessed. And those thoughts begin to create new pathways in your mind, new patterns in your emotions, and eventually new experiences in your world. Your words, too, must echo this end. What you speak, you set into motion. Words are not harmless, they are creative acts. Every time you speak as if lack is still your portion, you reinforce the very state you seek to leave behind. But when you speak with the tone of certainty, of gratitude, of assurance, you begin to breathe life into the reality you have already claimed inwardly. You stop saying, I can't afford it, and start saying, I choose to use my wealth wisely. You stop saying, I'm waiting for a breakthrough, and start saying, I am aligned with opportunities that match my abundance. Your language becomes less about lack and more about flow. You speak not to describe what is, you speak to declare what is becoming real. It is not enough to imagine the outcome once or twice. You must saturate yourself in the state of the wish fulfilled until it becomes your default. You live with that version of yourself every day. You walk like them, you breathe like them, you make decisions like them. When problems arise, you respond as they would. You no longer consult your past, because the past has nothing to say to the new version of you. You consult the feeling of fulfillment and ask, how would I think about this if I already had what I want? And that question leads you into the correct posture every time. This practice changes everything. You are no longer pulled by desperation, you are moved by destiny. Your steps become ordered by a deeper wisdom, because you are no longer reacting to appearances. You are being guided by an inner knowing. You begin to trust the invisible more than the visible. You begin to walk in peace even when the numbers haven't shifted yet. Because deep within, you know they will. They must. Not by your force, but by your faith. And you must be consistent. You cannot visit the state of fulfillment only when it's convenient or when your mood is high. You must live in it, return to it, stay in it, even when the world gives you no encouragement, especially then. Because the moment you persist despite the absence of evidence, You declare that your faith is greater than your fear, and that declaration rearranges reality. You will feel unnatural at first. It will feel like you're lying to yourself. But that is only because your old beliefs are dying, and they do not go quietly. They will try to convince you to play small, to wait and see, to be realistic. But you have seen something greater. You have imagined a version of yourself that lacks nothing. And once you've seen it, you cannot unsee it. You must now live as if it were your only truth. You do not need to force results. You need only to remain in the state. The money, the opportunities, the blessings, they are drawn to that state like water to gravity. Your only job is to remain there. To keep your attention fixed, your heart aligned, your words clear, and your life obedient to the vision you have claimed. And the longer you stay there, the more your world begins to shift. Slowly at first, then suddenly, until one day you look around and realize that you are no longer pretending. You are simply living the life that once lived only in your mind. Allow the how to unfold naturally. For the moment you try to control the route, you interfere with the divine intelligence that knows better than your limited mind. The pathway by which your desire comes is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to dwell in the state of the fulfilled desire, to remain faithful to the feeling that what you seek is already yours. When you focus on how it will happen, you leave the realm of imagination and enter the realm of resistance. You begin to doubt, question, analyze, and in doing so you step out of the power that creates worlds and back into the mind that only observes them. You are not required to engineer the outcome. You are only required to assume the outcome. The universe is far more intelligent, far more capable, far more connected than you could ever be. It knows who to move, when to move them, what doors to open, and what moments to orchestrate for your benefit. But this intelligence works in response to your state of being, not your effort, not your striving, not your worrying. When you worry about how, you broadcast a vibration of fear. When you release the how and rest in the knowing, you radiate trust. And trust is the foundation on which all manifestations are built. There is a sacred order to things, one you may not see with the naked eye. Often the process looks chaotic, uncertain, even backward. You may find yourself losing something you thought you needed, or being redirected from a path you were sure was yours. And yet in hindsight, you discover that what seemed like a detour was a divine redirection. The plan was always unfolding perfectly, just not according to your script. That is why you must not cling to methods or timelines. You must not insist on the delivery looking a certain way. You must let the current of creation flow through its own course. When you try to make it happen, you introduce effort where ease is needed. You introduce friction where flow would have taken over. The seed you planted through imagination needs space, not force. It needs trust, not desperation. You do not dig up the soil every morning to see if the seed is growing. You water it with faith. You speak to it with gratitude. You trust the invisible work beneath the surface. And that is how it is with money, with success, with all manifestations. You nurture the internal state, and life takes care of the rest. To let the how unfold naturally is not passivity, it is partnership. It is knowing your role. Your role is to imagine, to feel, to assume, to remain in the end. The universe's role is to unfold the bridge of incidents that lead you there. You cannot write both the destination and the directions. You choose the outcome, you trust the path, and as you continue to dwell in the feeling of already having, that very feeling begins to reshape your world. You may be tempted to control because control feels safe. The ego wants guarantees. It wants to know how much, by when, through whom. But manifestation is not born from control. It is born from conviction. from the quiet certainty that what is yours cannot miss you, that what you have assumed must become flesh. The moment you relax into that knowing, you free yourself from the tension of needing to know every step. Things begin to happen in ways you could never predict. A casual conversation becomes a life-changing opportunity. A delay turns into a blessing. A rejection leads to a better path. Synchronicities start appearing, not because you forced them, but because you aligned with them. This is the dance of creation. It is not rigid, it is not mechanical. It is fluid, responsive, alive. You are not here to hustle the universe into compliance. You are here to harmonize with its rhythm, to walk through life as one who is already provided for, to act not out of fear, but from fullness. When the bills arrive, you don't panic. You remember that supply is on its way. When plans change, you don't collapse. You trust that a higher plan is at work. And when nothing seems to be happening, you don't abandon your state, you go deeper into it. That is the faith that moves mountains. That is the posture that births miracles. Every great manifestation carries with it a moment of uncertainty, a moment where the mind screams for answers, but the soul whispers trust. That whisper is the voice of creation. It does not shout, it does not argue, it invites. And when you accept the invitation to trust the unfolding, you become magnetic. People sense something different in you. They feel your peace, they see your clarity, they recognize that you are not chasing life, you are attracting it. You must learn to enjoy the in-between. The moments when it seems like nothing is changing are often the moments when everything is shifting behind the scenes. The silence is not empty, it is pregnant with becoming. And those who remain faithful in the silence are the ones who witness the loudest transformations. You are not being ignored, you are being prepared. And when the pieces finally come together, you will see that the delay was not denial, it was design. So let go of the question, how will it happen? Let it die, let it fall away like dead leaves in autumn. It is not your question to answer. Ask instead, what does it feel like now that it has happened? And live in that answer. Speak from it. Think from it. Move from it. The how will come in ways that surprise you, in forms that humble you, in timing that perfects you. It will come because it must come, because you have claimed it as yours. And once claimed in imagination, creation is not a possibility, it is a promise. The moment you decide to act as if, the universe quietly begins its reorganization. There's a sacred power in assumption, an unseen law that responds not to your hopes or your complaints, but to the state from which you live. If you would dare to see this as your time to win and walk in that certainty, not waiting for permission, not needing a sign, then you would find that life has already been waiting for your alignment. You see, to act as if means to internalize the reality of your desire so completely, so confidently, that the external world bends in response. It does not begin with evidence. It begins with conviction. Look at your circumstances now. They may seem ordinary, even discouraging. But if you only knew how malleable they are, how quickly they would shift, if only you would shift within, you would never again doubt. The door is not locked. It is waiting for you to walk as though it were already open. What if I told you that the very idea in your heart, the whisper that says this is your moment, was not wishful thinking, but a divine revelation? You've tried before, yes, you've waited, you've struggled. But that was the preparation. The pain, the delays, the silence, they were not signs of denial. They were echoes of transformation. And now that your inner man has matured, now that your belief can carry the weight of the blessing, you stand on the edge of the greatest change of your life. But this change doesn't begin by force, it begins by faith. And faith, real faith, behaves as though the thing hoped for is already present. You must carry yourself differently, not arrogantly, but certainly, not with ego, but with expectation. You speak not of what will be, but of what already is in the unseen. The world may mock your confidence. It may say, "Who do you think you are?" But you must answer with your walk, your posture, your daily persistence. I am one who has already received, when the world outside is only a reflection of the world within. That's why it is not foolish to act as if the victory is yours. It's not pretending, it's planting. You sow the seed of belief in silence and darkness, and then you go on living, smiling, giving, walking, speaking, as though the harvest is guaranteed, because it is. The seed does not doubt the soil, and you must not doubt the law that governs your reality. Do not look for confirmation, be the confirmation. Do not beg for the result, embody the result. Let others chase while you attract. Let others seek signs while you walk in fulfillment. Feel the end, live in the end. Give thanks, not in hope, but in certainty. When you truly believe it is your time, you will stop asking when and start behaving like now. And that is the secret. Now is all you have. Now is all you need. It is not pride to act blessed. It is not delusion to act healed. It is not arrogance to act like a winner. It is wisdom. The wisdom of aligning your inner vision with the ultimate truth. That you are more powerful than any circumstance. That your reality is not dictated by what you see, but by what you know and assume to be true. So today, don't just hope for a breakthrough. Be the person who has already experienced it. Let your body, your breath, your spirit testify to a new state of being. Move through the world with quiet authority. Smile when no one understands. Celebrate when no one claps. Because you know what they don't. This is your time to win. And because you see it, because you believe it, the world has no choice but to follow. To assume the feeling of victory before it appears is to step into the role of a silent creator, one who knows that the unseen shapes the seen. It is not about wishing or hoping or begging life to offer proof. It is about knowing that proof will always follow belief, never precede it. The world, in its limited understanding, waits to celebrate when things appear successful. But the creative soul celebrates before the manifestation, because they are aware that reality is born first in the mind, then in time. You are not meant to sit back and wonder when things will change. You are meant to walk as if they already have. The unseen realm is more real than the fleeting appearances of the outer world. And when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you let it become your inner atmosphere, your natural state of being, you send out a silent command to reality to conform. You no longer plead with life. You declare to life who you are and what is yours. The power to do this lies in your imagination. The imagination is not mere fantasy, it is the blueprint of your destiny. When you feel yourself victorious, when you allow yourself to rest in the warmth and certainty of success without having any external reason to justify it, you are planting a seed in the fertile soil of the universe. And what is planted must grow. The mistake most people make is that they keep checking the soil, doubting the seed, unearthing it with worry and fear, but the one who truly assumes does not interfere. They know that what they feel deeply and consistently will find its way into form. This is why you must be careful not to entertain feelings of defeat, no matter how compelling your circumstances may appear. Because the moment you feel defeated, you replant failure. The law of creation is impartial. It brings forth whatever state is dominant within you. It does not respond to what you say with your mouth, but to what you whisper with your heart. And if your inner atmosphere is one of lack, frustration, fear, or unworthiness, then those are the fruits that will manifest no matter how much you say you want something else. So assume the feeling, not once, not as a moment of wishful thinking, but as a dwelling place. Let your mind return to it as often as it strays. When doubt knocks, return to the assumption. When fear creeps in, return to the feeling. When others mock you or question your path, smile quietly and return to the state. It is not their approval that shapes your world. It is your assumption. Do not wait for signs. The sign is within you. The sign is the knowing. And when you persist in that inner knowing, the world is compelled to mirror it. It may not happen the way you expect. It may not come through the doors you imagined, but it will come. Life bends to the one who dares to feel victorious before the victory is visible. You must become familiar with the sensation of already having it. Let it fill your chest. Let it influence your decisions, your tone of voice, your posture, your thoughts. When you act and speak from the feeling of already being what you desire, your entire being shifts into alignment. And this alignment is what calls the result forth. This is not performance. This is not pretending to trick others. It is not external, it is inward. You are not trying to convince the world, you are convincing your soul. And once your soul accepts it, once it feels normal and natural to be that person, then the outer world must rearrange. It is not magic, it is law. And understand this deeply. Feeling is the secret. Not just thinking about winning, not just visualizing success in a mechanical way, but feeling the truth of it in your bones. The kind of feeling that makes you breathe differently, walk differently, speak differently. That's the feeling that transforms. That's the feeling that pulls the invisible into visibility. You will know you are in the right state when you stop asking when it will come, because you will no longer feel the absence of it. You will be so saturated in the presence of it within that the outer delay no longer matters. You'll go about your day with a quiet calm, a powerful stillness, and a light of certainty in your eyes that others won't understand. But you will understand, because you know the real work is already done. To assume the feeling of victory before it appears is to live on a higher level of reality. It is to break free from the prison of appearances and operate from a deeper truth. The world may not applaud you when you begin. It may even call you foolish. But that doesn't matter, because you've already won where it counts, on the inside. And the outer must eventually obey. Your life does not respond to effort alone. It responds to identity. Who are you being? Not what are you doing, but who are you in the silent places of your heart? What truth are you embodying when no one is watching? That is where the change begins. That is where creation happens. And so the challenge is simple. Dare to feel now what you wish to see later. Dare to live today as the person you wish to become. Walk through your current environment as if it were your palace. Speak in rooms as if your words already carry weight. Breathe as if you were free. Smile as if the world has already bowed to your dream. Because when you do this, not once, not twice, but as a way of life, your world will have no choice but to catch up. To live from the end, not toward it, is to understand the creative law that governs all manifestation. Most people live in constant pursuit, always reaching, always stretching, always waiting for something to happen so they can finally feel secure, happy, or fulfilled. But true creation doesn't operate in that direction. The moment you position your desire as something in the future, you unknowingly affirm its absence in the present. And the longer you chase it, the more you reinforce that it's not yours. Yeah, this is the trap that most fall into. Wanting while simultaneously denying they have it. But when you live from the end, you begin with the feeling that it's already done. You think, speak, and act not as someone who is trying to get somewhere, but as someone who has already arrived. This is not delusion, it's design. The unseen world is shaped by the states we dwell in, not the struggles we endure. The mind must be anchored in the result, not the process. The process is merely the bridge that unfolds naturally when the destination is accepted as fact internally. If you wanted to travel somewhere, you wouldn't constantly doubt the location existed. You'd simply plan your trip from the understanding that the place is real. So it is with your goals, your dreams, your transformation. The end you desire already exists in the realm of imagination. It's waiting for you to inhabit it mentally and emotionally before it becomes visible. If you only ever look at what is and base your identity on the facts of your current experience, you are locked in repetition. The future cannot come from the past, it must be born from a different state of being. When you live from the end, you let go of the need to fight for your desire. You allow yourself to relax into the assumption that all things are working together for the fulfillment of your vision. You cease striving, not because you don't care, but because you already know. You know that what you have felt deeply, consistently, and persistently must express itself. The end you live from is not something far off. It is the unseen but present foundation of your current identity. You are not someone waiting for the breakthrough. You are someone who has already stepped into the light and is now simply watching it take form. This approach changes how you carry yourself. You begin to make decisions from your new identity, not your old one. You don't ask, can I afford this? You ask, would the version of me who already has this live this way? You begin to shift from asking the world for permission to giving yourself full access to the reality you've already claimed within. This is the essence of power. Not control over others, but dominion over your own inner state. When doubts arise, and they will, you return to the end. You remember that your task is not to manipulate the world, but to remain in alignment with your chosen reality. The end becomes your compass, your anchor, your atmosphere. You breathe it in. You walk in its energy. You don't try to become. You assume you already are. And this assumption begins to harden into fact. Life rearranges. Events conspire. People appear, circumstances shift. All because you moved. Not your body first, but your awareness. And this movement of awareness is everything, because what you are conscious of being determines what you attract. You cannot be conscious of lack and attract abundance. You cannot be conscious of sickness and attract health. You must become the thing you seek inwardly. That's why the inner world is the master and the outer world is the servant. When the inner man changes, the outer world must obey. So what does it really mean to live from the end? It means you stop hoping and start knowing. It means you stop rehearsing your limitations and start rehearsing your liberation. It means you walk into a room and already feel successful before a single hand is shaken or word is spoken. You write the book as if it's already a bestseller. You treat your body as though it's already healed. You invest your energy as though the return is guaranteed, not because you're trying to force results, but because you've decided to dwell in the outcome instead of the obstacle. People may not understand you. They may even mock your confidence, your peace, your refusal to stress over things. But you'll smile because you know what they don't. You know that reality is a mirror, and the only way to see something new is to be someone new. You have left behind the identity of the seeker and stepped into the reality of the one who has found. This change is not loud. It's not theatrical. It is silent, steady, and inward. But its effects are unmistakable. This way of living requires discipline, because the senses will tempt you. The world will show you its version of facts. But your facts are different. Your facts come from the end you've chosen. Every time you see the opposite, you reaffirm your end more deeply. You say within yourself, I am not moved by this. I know who I am. I know what I have. I know what is mine. And that knowing becomes your secret weapon. It guards your heart. It calms your mind. It protects your imagination from being polluted by doubt. You begin to take your cues from the reality you've chosen, not from the reality that others see. You are no longer bound by what others believe is possible for you. You are no longer trying to escape your present. You are creating your future by living as if it is already here. And in time, it will be. Because the world cannot resist a soul who refuses to live as anything less than fulfilled. So carry yourself with the quiet power of the one who knows. Not because you've been told, not because you've seen results yet, but because you've accepted the truth that your inner assumption is the only thing that matters. When you live from the end, you don't need the world to agree, you just need your own heart to stay aligned. And when that happens, everything else must fall into place. Let your inner conviction shape the outer world. For nothing is more powerful than the unseen certainty that lives within you. The world you see is not independent of your inner state. It is a reflection, a mirror image, a shadow cast by your beliefs, your assumptions, and your dominant self-concept. When you understand this, you no longer waste your energy trying to bend the outer world to your will. Instead, you go to the cause. You go inward. You begin to see your thoughts, emotions, and convictions not as fleeting experiences, but as the architects of your reality. This is the great shift from reacting to circumstances to creating them. Every person walks through life clothed in the atmosphere of their inner conviction. Some are cloaked in defeat, some in desperation, and others in quiet certainty. You can feel it when they enter a room. You can sense it in their words. It radiates without being spoken, and this inner state draws to itself everything that matches its tone. The one who believes he is always overlooked will be. The one who carries the inner certainty that life favors them will find favor again and again. This is not chance, this is not luck, it is law. The mistake many make is believing that they must first see change to believe in it. But belief is not something you do after the fact. It is the force that brings the fact into existence. Belief is the foundation upon which reality rests. Your world bends not to your complaints, not to your pain, but to your convictions. So what are you convinced of? Not with your mouth, but with your emotions, with your secret thoughts, and with the tone of your expectations. For that is the soil from which your life is blooming. You may not like what you currently see. You may feel that life has treated you unfairly. But before you try to fix the outer, examine the inner. What have you accepted as true? What roles have you assigned yourself in your imagination? If you see yourself as always struggling, always behind, always abandoned, then your world must echo that. But if you revise the script, if you change your inner conviction to one of abundance, of favor, of resilience, then the scenes of your life will begin to transform. This is not theory. It is the reality that governs all other realities. You were never meant to live at the mercy of circumstances. You were meant to rule them, not by force, but by alignment. When your conviction aligns with your desire, creation is inevitable. The only reason desires delay is because they are not truly believed. A wish is not enough. It must be accepted as fact within, before it can become fact without. Let others chase proof. You live by truth. And the truth is that your inner world is not just important, it is the only thing that truly matters. Your job is not to fix everything around you. Your job is to become the version of yourself who no longer needs the fixing. And how do you do that? By conviction. By choosing a new self-concept and holding it firmly, no matter what. Even when things contradict it, you stay rooted. Even when nothing outside confirms it, you keep breathing as that person, thinking as that person, expecting as that person, because you know the outer world is a lagging indicator. It doesn't lead, it follows. And so you wait, not in worry, but in stillness. You trust the process because you trust the law. When you let your conviction guide your choices, you find that you no longer take timid steps. You no longer second guess every move. You no longer seek validation from others because your conviction becomes your compass. You make decisions from the place of the person you already are on the inside, not from who the world once told you you were. That old version of you begins to fade. Not because you fought it, but because you outgrew it. Conviction isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It's not about shouting affirmations into the mirror. It's about that quiet inner agreement that you make with yourself that this is who I am now, not who I hope to be, who I am. And from that deep, unshakable knowing, your world begins to shift. People treat you differently. Opportunities find you. Resistance fades. It all begins to rearrange, not because life suddenly favors you, but because you stop fighting your truth. If there's one thing to hold on to, it is this. The world cannot give you what you haven't already given yourself in conviction. You will never experience love, success, peace, or freedom outside if you don't first experience them within. And that experience begins not with seeing, but with believing. Not shallow believing, not the kind that hopes quietly in the background, but the kind of belief that walks like it, talks like it, thinks like it, every single day. So go within. Choose your state. Anchor yourself in it. Let it become so normal that anything else feels strange. The old ways of thinking may rise up, doubts may whisper, fear may tempt you to shrink. But your conviction is stronger. You do not need to argue with doubt, you simply ignore it. You do not need to prove your new identity, you live it. And in doing so, you remind yourself every day that you are not here to adapt to the world's chaos. You are here to reorder the world through the quiet authority of your inner conviction. Nothing outside can ever override the power of a mind that knows what it is. Your current situation is not permanent. It is not final. It is a mirror. And if you do not like what it reflects, do not smash the mirror. Change the image that it reflects. Change your conviction. That is the real work. And once you do, everything else begins to obey. Not immediately, not always visibly at first, but inevitably, for the outer world is but the servant of the inner man. And the inner man, when he stands firm in truth, commands without speaking. He shapes without struggle. He creates without effort. And the world must bow. Faith is acting without the need for evidence. It is stepping forward not because something is visible, but because something is known. Faith does not ask for proof, it creates it. It does not wait for conditions to be favorable before making a move. It declares the move and then conditions follow. They want to see results first before they believe. They want confirmation before commitment. But faith works in reverse. The commitment comes first. The belief comes first, and then the universe aligns to that belief. To live by faith means you are no longer controlled by what your five senses tell you. You understand what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. You realize that appearances are just reflections of former beliefs and thoughts. They are not the cause, they are the consequence. So you stop reacting to appearances. You stop letting delays discourage you. You stop allowing what others say to dictate how you feel, because deep inside you are anchored in a vision that is more real to you than anything happening outside. This kind of faith is not weak, it is not uncertain, it is not hoping with fingers crossed. It is bold, it is quiet but unshakable. It walks through the valley of delay with a steady gaze. It passes through trials without surrendering its inner clarity. It sees chaos and still knows order is coming. This faith does not collapse under pressure. Instead, pressure reveals its strength. When things fall apart around you and yet your spirit remains calm, that is when you know faith is truly alive within you. Faith does not require emotion. You do not need to feel excited or enthusiastic every day. You simply need to remain convinced, even in silence, even when nothing is happening, even when the days stretch on with no visible change. True faith remains. It is not shaken by time, it is not weakened by setbacks. It simply knows, and because it knows, it rests. Many confuse faith with effort. They think if they try harder, things will change faster, but the energy of trying is rooted in doubt. It says, maybe if I do enough, something will finally happen. But the energy of faith says, it is already done. And from that knowing, you do what needs to be done, not with strain, but with ease. You take inspired action, not frantic action. You speak with clarity, not desperation. You hold your posture even in storms, because the truth within you is not up for negotiation. Imagine a tree standing in winter. It does not panic because its branches are bare. It does not question its purpose just because there are no leaves. It knows spring is inevitable, so it waits, strong, silent, and still. This is faith. Faith does not shout, it does not beg, it simply waits with full expectation that what is unseen will become seen. Because the law is faithful, and it cannot lie. To act in faith means to become the person who already has what they desire. You don't ask, will this happen for me? You say it already has, and I am simply walking into it. You go to bed in peace, not wondering, but knowing. You wake up not with dread, but with calm assurance, because even if nothing looks different, you are different. And that difference is what shifts everything else. The problem with most people is that they let the outside world define their faith. If the bank account is low, they feel poor. If the relationship is broken, they feel unloved. If no opportunity appears, they feel forgotten. But the person of faith does not let the outer world write their story. They write it themselves, from the inside. They say, I am wealthy, even if I can't see it yet. They say, I am loved and chosen, even if I'm walking alone right now. They say, opportunities chase me, even if the phone is silent. And this inner script is what begins to rewrite the outer narrative. You must understand this deeply. Faith is not optional. It is the currency of creation. Without it, you are simply reacting to life. With it, you are commanding it. Every time you act in faith, you are telling the universe, I know who I am. I know what is mine. And I will not be moved by temporary appearances. This kind of authority cannot be faked. It must be lived. And the more you live it, the more natural it becomes. When you act in faith, even small things become sacred. A simple step forward becomes a declaration. A quiet decision becomes a turning point. A single choice can change the trajectory of your life, not because it was dramatic, but because it was rooted in belief. That is the mystery of faith. It doesn't always look powerful, but it is. It doesn't always feel certain, but it is unshakable. And when it has done its work within you, everything else must respond. There will be moments when you are tempted to doubt, when things feel stuck, when the old voices return whispering that you are wasting your time. But that is precisely when your faith must rise. Not by shouting louder, but by remembering who you are. You are not someone begging for a breakthrough. You are someone who already received it the moment you believed. Time is just catching up with what your soul already knows. You do not wait for the world to validate your faith. The world waits for you to hold it, because the one who walks in faith rewrites the rules. They bend the world with their silence. They shift timelines by holding their state. They command without noise, and their lives become proof, not because they chased evidence, but because they acted as if they needed none. That is faith. Your present state creates your future reality, not your wishes, not your desperate prayers, not your external efforts, but your internal state right now. Whatever you are dominantly feeling, thinking, and accepting as true about yourself and your world, that is the seed from which your future will grow. People often misunderstand this truth. They believe the future is something that happens to them, shaped by chance, fate, or luck. But the future is not created later, it is created now, in this moment, in the silence of your thoughts, in the assumptions you carry as you move through your day. Your state is not just an emotion, it is the atmosphere of your consciousness. It is the combination of your beliefs, your self-image, your expectations, and your inner dialogue. And this state speaks to the universe in a language more powerful than words. The outer world listens to this inner tone and reflects it faithfully, like a mirror. It is not concerned with what you want. It responds to what you are. You can say all the right affirmations, but if your inner state is rooted in doubt, fear, or lack, those words will be empty. They will carry no weight. Because the law responds to your being, not your speaking. This is why transformation begins with awareness. You must become conscious of what state you are dwelling in. What thoughts dominate your mind when no one is watching? What stories do you tell yourself about who you are and what life is for you? Are you living in the state of someone who is blessed, favored, and capable? Or do you walk through your days carrying the invisible cloak of victimhood, of inadequacy, of unworthiness? Because whatever state you are most familiar with, that is the soil from which your life is blooming. And you cannot fake this. You cannot pretend to be in a higher state for a few minutes a day while spending the rest of your time affirming your limits. You must dwell in it, live in it. Let it become so normal that anything less feels foreign. You must be willing to abandon the comfort of your old identity, even if it feels familiar, even if it's all you've known, because that old state, no matter how safe it feels, cannot take you to a new future. The bridge between your current life and the life you desire is built by your willingness to embody a new state now. This is not about becoming someone else, it is about remembering who you really are. Beneath all the fear, all the trauma, all the doubt, you are powerful, you are creative, you are divine, and the state of lack, fear, or failure is not your truth, it's a habit, a pattern. And patterns can be broken. But they don't break with force, they break with awareness. You must catch yourself when you slip back into the old state and gently, firmly bring yourself back, not by condemning yourself, but by choosing again, by saying, that is no longer who I am, I remember now. So your present state is your point of attraction. It's the frequency you emit. It's the lens through which you see everything. When your state changes, your perception changes. And when your perception changes, the world shifts. What once looked like a problem now looks like an opportunity. What once felt like rejection now feels like redirection. Your relationships change. Your decisions change, your energy changes, all because you change the internal atmosphere from which you live. You cannot control the world, but you can control your state. And by doing that, you influence the world in ways you cannot fully understand. When you walk in the state of confidence, opportunities seem to find you. When you dwell in the state of love, people respond to you differently. When you live in the state of abundance, resources begin to appear. This is not magic. It is the law of consciousness. You are not waiting for your reality to shift. You are the shift. But here's the key. You must choose your state deliberately. You cannot allow the world to dictate how you feel. You must decide each day, each moment who you are and what is true for you. And then you must think from that truth. Feel from that truth, act from that truth, not just when things are going well, but especially when they're not. Because that's when the old state will try to return. It will whisper its familiar lies. It will try to pull you back into comfort, into fear, into doubt. And in that moment, you must decide, will you react to appearances? Or will you stay loyal to your chosen state? This is not about ignoring reality, it's about creating a new one. And reality always lags behind state. So when you first enter a new state, it might feel like nothing's happening. You might still see the old patterns playing out. But do not be fooled. Something is shifting. The moment you change within, the world begins to respond. Slowly at first, then suddenly, like the tide, the new reality begins to rise. And if you persist, if you remain stable in your chosen state long enough, what was once imagination becomes experience. You have the power to choose your state every day. You can wake up and decide to live as someone who is free, who is whole, who is already standing in the fulfillment of their desire. And when you do, your choices, your actions, your energy begin to align with that version of you. And that alignment is the key. Not struggle, not desperation, but alignment. You don't have to figure everything out. You don't need all the answers. You just need to become the person who already has them. And that person lives in a different state. So breathe into that version of yourself. Feel their peace. Walk in their confidence. Think their thoughts. And as you do, your present state will begin to create a new future. Not someday, but now, because the future is not ahead of you, it is inside of you. And when you live in the right state, you are already living in the future you once dreamed of.